every single cent was being reinvested into building something. All of the marketing in the world is not greater than a customer experience. You know, sometimes what you see on social media is different to what is actually happening within, you know, someone's business.
Good morning, early birds and future moguls. If you ever wondered whether the successful entrepreneurs start their day a little bit different, welcome to Founders Before 9 a.m., the backstage pass to the secret ritual, mindset hacks, and tiny habits that build loud legacy. I'm your host, Candice, the founder of Miss Morning. And every episode, we will pull up the curtain with some successful entrepreneurs who turned mornings into their powerhouse. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Founders Before 9 a.m. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome the founder of Dr. Dough, Kristy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Your journey has changed quite a lot from running the Mock Life Cafe and then built Dr. Dough and successfully sold it. And now you're even taking on multiple ventures. So I can't wait to dive into more of the behind-the-scenes stories and especially the habits and mindset support you to achieve where you are today.
Yep.
So let's start with the present. So what's your current morning routine looks like, especially what's the secret ritual that help you to set up the tone of the day?
Okay. So my morning routine generally will start at 4 a.m.
That's quite early. Oh my God.
And that's almost 7 days.
Yeah.
So when I reveal that, most times the next question that I get is, well, what time do you go to sleep? And it varies, but it's generally at around 9 o'clock at night. So I think I get enough sleep.
Yeah, pretty similar. That's a really good time to get to sleep.
Yeah. So at 4 a.m. I wake up. And the business that I founded is a e-com donut gifting business. So I'm fortunate in that I actually live directly across the road from where our kitchen and headquarters are. So every morning I will start by just popping in to say hello to the staff, make sure that they're all okay and on track. And then from there, the routine really starts. And what I'll generally do is first I will go into a sauna.
Okay.
And then I will go for a run, which is generally about 6 Ks. And then after that, I will try to squeeze in some Pilates.
A lot of workout.
Yeah. And I think I do that more from a mind space perspective. I find that, you know, when I run, I'm really only getting out there because I find that it's really good for mental health, clarity, and keeping your brain sharp.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that has been in my routine for a really long time, and I think that it will probably stick for a really long time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like especially in the early morning when you get yourself under the sunlight, then it's really help you to have a clear mind and also benefit with your body, your mindset and everything like that.
Yeah. So I definitely personally I see those benefits and that's why they're in my routine. And then from there, once all of that is out the way, I'll generally be back at my desk by 7 a.m. So really quickly we'll get changed. We'll get into my morning skincare routine, which thanks to you is a lot faster now. And then I'm at my desk by 7. And I like to do that because normally the phone will start ringing after 9 a.m. When everyone sort of gets to work. Yeah. So I like to sit down from 7 a.m. and it's more of that deep focus where I can really work on clearing emails or getting through whatever I need to before the day really takes off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can see there are a lot of workout, a lot of self-care and also some routines that belongs to yourself. So now what if you don't have much time to go through all of that? Is there one thing that is non-negotiable for you?
I'd say I would always try to keep the running.
Okay.
So I'll always try to go for a run. Sometimes it doesn't happen because, something will get in the way. But that's the one thing that I think I feel like there's a noticeable difference when I don't run. So that's why I like to try to keep that as a non-negotiable in my routine.
Yeah, right. And also keep your body feel good, feel healthy.
Yeah. I think it also sets a mindset for how the rest of the day will go if I've stuck to that, like it's something that I'm doing for myself, because the day after that can go in many directions, could get crazy. So at least if I've done one thing in the day that I'm happy with, and I know that mentally it's, I guess, helping to keep my mind functioning and sharp, then I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which leading to my next question, because you were running the cafe. Are you still running the Mark Life Cafe right now? No. So I was wondering, like back then, what was the morning like? Looks different, like picture
Completely
us a
different.
day,
Yeah.
a typical day. When you
Back
were running.
then, I was operating 2 cafes and the donut business or brand was separate.
Wow, that's a
So
lot.
it was almost doing 3 or starting 3 in a very short time frame.
Yeah.
And then over time, one of them would cease that operation. So it has evolved over time. But when I said earlier that there's a noticeable difference when I'm not running or being active, that really would be the time in my life where there was a huge difference in like mental state and even just, I guess, that then flowing into productivity. And one of the biggest differences that I'd probably say is when I haven't been active or sticking to that kind of routine, tasks that would take me normally 10 to 15 minutes will take me an hour. So that's why I think, by sticking to those things, it helps with productivity and just shapes the way that everything will run. So started out with the 2 cafes, started Dr. Dough.
Yeah.
But then I think over time, it just became really clear that the donut brand was the scalable of all of the options. So we decided to exit the cafe or coffee industry. And we actually it was through the coffee business that we started to notice how people were interacting with the donuts. So we started out as, just selling just different flavors. But over time, people would come to us and they would say, hey, I'm going to buy 6 donuts and I'm giving these to someone as a gift. So the word gift came up many, many times. So we sort of leaned into that and started to understand the way that the customer was using the product, and then decided to build an e-com platform and really amplify and turn the donuts into a gifting category. And it was once we had done that and we'd set up a logistics platform, we had the website, about 6 months after that, then COVID hit.
Oh, right. That's a disaster. Oh, my God.
Well, we thought that it was going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
I really thought in the beginning, like everybody, like you didn't know which direction any business was going to go into. But from, I guess, in the beginning thinking that, I'd lost everything.
Yeah.
We very quickly then started to realise, well, what do we actually have in place and what can we use that can assist us in this situation? And it was e-com, it was food, so we were still allowed to trade, and we were delivery, so we could get right across Sydney. We initially thought that lockdown would be about 10 days, and my business partner at the time said to me, he said, Kristy, we've got 10 days to acquire as many customers as possible. And as we know, that 10 days turned into a much longer time frame. And COVID actually ended up really amplifying the business. Yeah. We then started doing around 45,000 donuts out of our kitchen every single week.
Wow, that's a lot.
And it was because people wanted to find a way to stay connected to their loved ones. They still wanted to share in occasions like birthdays or congratulating people. Babies were still being born. There were so many occasions that people wanted to celebrate together, but they couldn't physically see each other. So they still wanted to be connected in some way. So so that's how the business really took off.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. So since you would touch on how the Dr. Dough was started, so let's rewind the tape a little bit back then. Walk us through what was your career background. How did you start even the cafe, and when did you switch to Dr. Dough and all of this?
Sure. So since when I was 15, and able to start working, I started working at McDonald's.
Really early.
Yeah, really early. Started working at Macca's, and that actually turned into a career for me. So I ended up being at McDonald's for 17 years. So starting out as people may say, as a burger flipper, to working through lots of different operational roles. And my last position at McDonald's was National McCafe Operations. So that was really cool. Absolutely loved the job. But ended up leaving that because I felt like I wanted some more creative, I wanted more of a creative outlet.
Yeah.
So then that's when I decided to open my own cafe, but also open the donut brand at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like since you started quite early and also in the food industry, obviously McDonald's is such a big and good platform for you to learn all the hands-on experience and learning how to operate the cafe and from the back to the front. And then it gives you a really good foundation to be able to start this company. But also I wanted to know that because back then when you were working in a big company, especially when you get into the manager role, there are a bunch of people back you up, and so some small things you don't need to worry about. But when you started the cafe by yourself, I guess at the beginning, so how did that look and how did that feel, especially because you need to pretty much handle everything and rely only on yourself?
That is absolutely right. So as you would know, and other business owners would know, when you are running your own business, you are responsible for everything. You are the cleaner, the HR manager, the lawyer, you're recruiting, you are in charge of managing operations and developing processes, systems, procurement and sourcing, all of that.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say that one of the best things about working at McDonald's was the exposure to all of the different departments. Like I remember, going into meetings where all of the different functions of the business would be present, and we'd be talking about something like a beetroot burger. And the process had to start so early because every part of the supply chain process had to be involved, because if we wanted to do that, then we had to ask the farmers to start growing more beetroot to then facilitate that for a national rollout. So having exposure to those sorts of things and that level was just amazing. But you're right, when you are working in a big company, you can head to the legal department if you have a question, or the HR department, or you have lots of people to lean on and rely on. When you are on your own, it's very different. I remember making phone calls to people, being from McCafe, and people would pick up the phone and they would essentially bend over backwards because they wanted the business, they wanted to work with you. But when you are starting out on your own sometimes and you don't have sort of a reputation or a backing behind you, it's a completely different story. You don't have the same level of support, you don't have the same level of engagement. So you sort of have to start from scratch again and build a team, build supplier relations, and you really are on your own.
That's right.
Yeah.
And also beyond the operational kind of pressure, you also kind of dealing with your own loneliness and pressure and self-doubt, a lot of things. So how did you process that? Because I feel like you were not took the leap, you were took the jump.
Absolutely, yes. I feel like I did take the jump. Look, I would say that friends, family, although they really mean well, they don't sometimes understand what business owners go through in terms of the sacrifice, the endurance, and the things that you need to go through to really build a brand and a company. People would make lots of comments to me like, well, why don't you just hire someone to do that for you? Why are you doing this? Why don't you just take a holiday? You look really tired. And as you would know, sometimes those things are just not an option. And although they mean well, sometimes they really just don't get it.
Yeah.
So that can then, I guess, lead being a business owner and entrepreneur to being a lonely place. And I would really say that one of the biggest things that assisted me to get through times where there was, extreme sacrifice and those nights where you just don't sleep and you are worried about the way that things are going to turn out. Listening to podcasts like Mark Boris, The Mentor, I remember at the time was one of the things that really got me through, because I was listening to stories of other business owners and entrepreneurs who were going through the same struggle, and then they had made it out the other end, or they'd pivoted, or changed their business direction, or they'd done something really cool. And that was inspiring. And that then led me to think, okay, well, this person was in a position, for example, where they're sleeping in their car and now they're in this position because they, because they did something different or they went through the sacrifice and the endurance and they made it out the other side. So I kind of feel like it's those are conversations that you listen to, and it's those networks that almost become like not your friends, but your network of people who are there, and although they will never know it, you feel supported by them because you've heard their story. Yeah. So I think that listening to that and being inspired by that is definitely something that got me through. And again, like I said, friends and family, although they mean well, sometimes don't necessarily get or understand exactly what needs to happen in the early stages of starting a business and getting it off the ground.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same. So, because now my business is still in that early stage, and a lot of the time that I found I can really relate it to those struggles that people sharing during the podcast or even with some like networking event. And I feel so related and feel appreciate that they can open to the stories behind the scenes and share to me that they have been through something similar. It's not because I am very slow, I am not good at it. It's just the process through the journey.
Absolutely. You start to understand, and it's those real and raw stories, when you're not hearing like, an overnight success who hasn't discussed, exactly what they had to go through to get there. I really enjoy hearing those real stories, understanding exactly what they went through, and at each stage of the business. So, it's not necessarily just at the startup. Like you will have business challenges from, founding to scaling to selling, if you choose to. And that's why I'm really pleased to be here talking to you, because I think, like we said, in the entrepreneurial community, sometimes it can feel like a lonely place. But if we can share these stories and talk to each other about the real struggle that happens, to get a business from A to B, I think it's really important to talk about those things.
Yeah, exactly. And the good thing is you touched on there are a lot of sacrifice to being an entrepreneur. So share with us when you were running the cafe and like how many years you have been running the cafe, by the way.
The cafe was, I think that was about 3 years, but Dr. Doe overall has been about 8 years.
8 years.
And, going back to the beginning, every single cent was being reinvested into building something. So whether it was working towards Dr. Doe and building a website and getting that off the ground, every single cent was reinvested. And that meant, from a sacrifice perspective, it meant that I had to get very comfortable with eating 2-minute noodles for dinner for, every night. And it was just because we couldn't afford to, go out to restaurants and do all of that. It was just more, being laser focused on getting to a point. Very early on, for about 2 years, I lived above a cafe, and because it was above a cafe and all of the equipment was downstairs, it was this tiny, room. We weren't really living it was a very modest lifestyle. And, for example, in summer, when it was like 30 degrees outside, it would be like 45 degrees inside.
Wow.
And anyway, so we had to do things like that to get to a certain point. And I'm glad to say that I don't live there anymore. But that's just a couple of examples of some of the struggles along the way, or the sacrifice.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel like even maybe sometimes during that time, you're going to question yourself. Why did I give up my glamorous full-time job and jump into
giving up a salary?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will admit I absolutely love shopping, and I will shop any chance that I get. But there were years where, shopping wasn't even an option because there was no salary. I don't think I took a salary from the business until I think it was maybe year 5 or 6. And that's a really long time to go from, having a pretty decent salary in a corporate position where I'd been at for a long time, to then having, almost no salary and just, having enough just to, live and get by. That was a lot to go through.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing this, like, really honestly. I feel like a lot of people who are experiencing that gonna be like so related and feeling, oh, this is normal, and they will find a way to get through of this.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to, it's like people will call business like a marathon. I think it really is a test of endurance, and sometimes you don't have a choice. Like, you just have to turn up every single day, and get through that. And hopefully you are rewarded by that, or you need to make a decision as to whether it's you're cut out to continue doing it that way.
True.
But I think there is a point in time where there is a decision that needs to be made.
Yeah, let's get back to the business side. So you were mentioned back then you were running 2 cafes, and then at the same time you started Dr. Dough. So my question was, because like running a cafe is already physical and mentally quite like demanding type of business, and on top of that you wanted to running a baking business on that, so it requires even more energy and effort on that. So why did you decide to choose Dr. Dough at that point rather than maybe something else, something it's like more glamorous or quicker?
Dr. Dough just sort of evolved, and again, when we first started the donut brand, the intention was not to become an e-com gifting company. So I think, sometimes people will start out with a business purpose, but you really need to, I guess, go with the flow sometimes in being able to recognize what your customers are after and taking those opportunities. And that may be very different to the way that you started. And that is what happened in the circumstance for Dr. Dough.
Yeah.
But one thing that we haven't touched on, which we might shortly, is so at one point, while I think we'd exited one cafe, still had one, but the donut brand, I then actually started working in another industry and juggling that as well. So then trying to fit in everything that you just mentioned, plus working in another job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that also then got a bit intense. But in doing that was also to provide more, I guess, support and resources into building the donut brand.
I see. So if you can recall, how many years that you spent on Dr. Dough and you didn't find there's some like much increase of the business until you find that maybe the COVID hit and then you pivot to the gifting business, then there's like completely changed everything.
Yeah, I think, definitely pivoting to the gifting business, we started to see increases instantly. And it just kept growing and building over time. And I would say that one of the biggest drivers of that was word of mouth. We also specialize in doing a lot of custom corporate orders. So we would have a lot of officers who would contact us and they'd say, hey, we need a branded product. And let's say we sent 100 donuts to an office. That would then be 100 people who were exposed to the product, the brand, and what we do. Yeah. So it was because of that there was almost this virality where that was an enabler of more and more growth. So that is something that I guess had already been taking off. But like I said, it wasn't until COVID where that really excelled the business. And it was just because I guess people were at home, online shopping a lot more, scrolling a lot more. Yeah. It allowed them to discover us. So that is really what excelled the growth of Dr. Dough.
Okay. So based on my understanding, it was you were doing like the normal selling Dr. Dough, and also some opportunities just came to you and saying, hey, can you customize something for our company at the beginning? So it's kind of like a hybrid, not completely gifting model. And until COVID hit, then there are more kind of demanding from gifting that perspective rather than just doing like normal selling, wholesaling and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I guess the way that the business is continuing to evolve is more customization. So what we're finding over time as the business is changing, people want to be sending gifts that are really unique to the person who is receiving. So, for example, you could go onto our website right now and be sending donuts to your partner, and you know that their favorite color is blue. So you could pick a blue glaze, a blue sprinkle. You could add a selfie, upload an image of that person, and then that would be printed into an edible image and placed onto the donuts, and you would get that delivered within a couple of hours.
Wow.
So
that's so quick.
Yeah. So it's not just the product that we've been evolving, but it's also the service and how people shop. So over time, another thing that we noticed along the way is that, people really like to shop, in the evening, and that might be because they have just put the kids to bed and they've got a little bit of time up their sleeve at that point in time. So we then expanded the delivery times in which people could order to midnight, because if you ordered by midnight, then you could get your delivery the following morning. So just giving people, I guess, operating in a way that's on their terms, not on our terms. So we really transformed the business to make sure that we were keeping up with consumer habits, and that is later shopping, wanting faster, same-day reliable delivery, and also more or greater customization of products.
Yeah, I found that through your journey, like how from the beginning and gradually switch to the current model, it's really by deeply understanding your customer needs, their behavior, and trying to understand how can you better service them. So I guess for all of the business, if they are trying to find the way that could really make things easier or trying to really better service to their customer, then it could be the point that change their entire business.
Absolutely. I feel like I personally have a brain that is split 50% operations and 50% marketing. And I would always suggest that, from an operational perspective, you need to really make sure that you are fulfilling what the customer wants, first and foremost. So if they are expecting same-day delivery, well, then you need to deliver it same day, because all of the marketing in the world is not greater than a customer experience.
True.
You could have a great marketing campaign, but when that customer finally orders from you, if the service is subpar or it's not what they were quite expecting, then they will never order from you again. So my brain is, I guess, always on the side of the customer experience and operation side. And I think that that's really important to understanding, listening to the customer, and just evolving your business in a way that customers are telling you that they want the business to be.
Yeah. And also when you're telling that your donuts become this gifting model, to me it's instantly makes sense and makes me feel, wow, yeah, I need this, because like if I was it to someone, I wanted to bring something with me to showing that I actually care about you. I wanted to let us have the genuine connection. But if we, like, for example, I can maybe choose to send some flowers or bring some pastries, but every single time I really need to come up some ideas that what I should bring. So bringing donuts and especially customize it, it's such a good idea. So it really makes sense why this business like took off really quick after this.
Yeah. So, the customizing is one thing, but like I said, it's really the service and fulfilling the customer expectation. And I would say that whenever I bump into someone who mentions, hey, I ordered Dr. Dough, they will rarely ever speak to me about the product. And I think that that's because the customer expectation is that the product, it's just a minimum expectation that they're going to get what they have seen online or what they've ordered. But they don't necessarily always expect the reliability, being able to contact and speak to an actual person. We have a great customer service team. Being able to deliver at midday and getting the product delivered within a couple of hours, it really is those things that people are always talking to me about. They'll say, hey, I picked up the phone and I spoke to Carly and she is a wonderful angel. And it's more those things that people will talk to me about. The product sometimes is irrelevant because it's just a minimum expectation. but it is the other things that will keep the person coming back to use your service.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, because if it's a business model that online, then when people order something, I think like stop them the most was how it's gonna be, like what's the service gonna be?
Yeah.
Am I gonna be scammed or something like that? Yeah, but really make sure that every touching point with the customer, you wanted to make sure it's deliver something out of expectation. It's surprise them and giving them those kind of excellent service. It's really important, and building the trust day by day, and that's how you build the e-commerce business, I guess.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. And after like everything happened and growing fast, and what's next? When did you decided to thinking, okay, maybe I should like sell my business, or how did that happen?
So we sold the business 3 months ago. And I guess from very early on, I knew that at some point there would be an exit. And I'm glad that that's something that I had considered really early on, because understanding that you want to exit one day, I feel that that really governs the way that you will treat your business. So it was because of that that I knew that I had to have a CFO. I had to make sure that we had all of our ducks in a row. There was no stone left unturned when it came to financials, making sure that the ATO was happy, staff were happy, that there would be absolutely no reason why someone would knock back a business sale. Making sure that, in the due diligence process, it is always going to be incredibly thorough. So understanding that from the beginning really governed and meant that everything that we did from that point onwards, whether it was who we were selecting in our team, all of that just had to be as perfect as we could possibly get it. So when I sold the business, I had 2 non-negotiables. One of them was that by selling, we would then be able to continue the business, and I would be able to see it take a different and bigger and greater form. And the other one was that the team would have to stay together. And it was those 2 things that to me were more important than anything, because, Dr. Doe is my baby. Like, I want to see it continue. And I'm still involved in the business in the same capacity as what I was. And my staff are still with me, and we're really having a great time with more resources and being part of a greater team and seeing where that can now lead to. So, I think, and that was the main reason behind the exit, which was to, have more resources to be able to continue to be something greater than what we could necessarily do on our own. So I'm really glad that, we've been successful in doing that.
How long did it take from the beginning, that when you starting to maybe talk to the buyers and then doing the due diligence and eventually got it? So what's the process like?
I never actually put the business up for sale. I'd had a couple of conversations and with the successful buyer. So they had been one of our suppliers for many years, since the business had started. And we were just having an off-the-cuff conversation one day, and I said, well, why don't you just buy the business? And the person I was speaking to looked at me and said, is that an option? And I said, well, yeah, let's talk about it. So the conversation continued from there. And that was almost a 12-month process. So from the time we had that conversation, by the time, we actually signed and the agreement was all done and dusted, that was about 12 months. But the reason that I didn't necessarily go out to market was because, again, like with my non-negotiable being that the team had to stay together, I wanted to make sure that my team would be looked after and that we would be happy with wherever we were working. If I'd gone to market, there could have been any company that, might have been interested or might have been successful in acquiring us. However, I wanted to make sure that the company that we were working with, we knew that they would be a really great option and great partners to assist us in growing, but also in a way that my team would be happy with that decision as well.
I see.
So it was more a strategic, I guess, in contacting a couple of a couple of larger companies. That I think was more strategic, but again, it was more because it had to be right. Like, you know, the last thing that I would want is for some huge company to come and take Dr. Doe and strip it away of all of the good qualities that we'd built into it over time. So I wanted to make sure that the synergy and energy was still there and kept within the business. So, and it's because of that I'm quite happy with the outcome, because, you know, we're sort of, because the company that had purchased Dr. Doe, because they've been on the journey with us for a long time, we know each other really well, and they also understand the business.
Wow, yeah, I think that's the best option to
Yeah.
have. Yeah. So now you're still involved in Dr. Doe, and also you also on the operating side for working, and also you are getting involved in High End, which is Lauren's company.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, do you have let's say a core skills that can apply across different roles, or do you find it's still challenging to keep learning, keep involving yourself in different positions?
Yeah. I would definitely say that you will learn different skills that can be applied to every industry, but I would probably describe it as being street smart and a business all-rounder.
Yeah.
And I think once you learn and apply yourself to business fundamentals like leadership and people skills and operations, those things are applicable to every industry regardless of what it is. So I think that, you know, you kind of have a baseline, but then there are nice things that you take away from different industries that can be applied across industry, but also with the people that you meet. Like, I'm so fortunate at Work Inc. I work with the founder there, who is Mark Davidson, who is my business mentor, and I would definitely say that from what I've learned from him would definitely be the equivalent of an MBA. Then I work with Lauren from High End. She's the founder or co-founder. And I would say that she is one of the smartest people that I have ever come across.
Yes, definitely.
So in working in different industries, the thing that really energizes me is working with smart people. And that's why I love being at the co-working space, because at Work Inc. we have 100 different business owners there and different companies, and it's really energizing to see all of the other business owners hustle and build their businesses and pivot and change their business strategies. So it's really nice to be surrounded by that and to see that every day.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because if you can surround yourself with the people who are smarter than you,
Yeah.
of course you can like growing faster and faster.
And they are all much, much smarter than me.
Yeah.
But I'm just really fortunate to learn from them and I guess take those skills and try my very best to apply them in different industries, and who knows where in the future.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask for nowadays, because every business is pretty much on social media, and of course it's a really great tool for every business to do their marketing, build their brand. But on the flip side, it also can adding on pressures, like especially for the founder. Sometimes you're seeing maybe your competitors doing well, and you're guessing if they are maybe quicker than you and better than you. And internally, how did you deal with that as being the founders of different company and now even looking after the marketing side of High End? So does that happen to you sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, sometimes you really can go down the rabbit hole of spending time looking at other companies, making an assumption that just because their social media has got great engagement, that they are doing better than you from a revenue perspective, or that there is some sort of advantage there. Yeah. And I definitely think that social media plays its part in getting your brand message out there, and it really is a great communication tool. However, sometimes what you see on social media is different to what is actually happening within, someone's business. So part of it needs to be, you have to be comfortable with what's happening in your own backyard. So I always think of that first. And, we might spend 3 days working on a particular piece of content, and then we post it and we get zero interaction, no engagement, and it seems like it's a complete flop. And that's really disheartening. But what I'll always pull myself back to is, okay, well, how's revenue going? Are we meeting our targets? Are we happy with the growth that we're seeing? And if all of that is going well, then I think, well, do I really care that no one liked that post? Like I said, I think it definitely serves a purpose for awareness, but whether or not that necessarily translates to a business result sometimes is a little bit different. And I guess the only other thing that I'd say with social media and content is you really have to be authentic about it. And that's what I love about your content.
Oh, really?
Everything that you see about Miss Morning is you.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that that's what people find endearing, and that's why they relate to, and choose to work with a business or to buy from a business, because everyone has many, many competitors. And when customers are making a choice, sometimes it is that they feel like they can relate with a business owner or a brand that will get them over the line. So social media, yes, very important. However, I think you can't lose sight on what's happening in my own backyard. Am I happy with the results? Yeah. And then if a post goes viral, then that's a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so looking back to your entire career journey, and which part do you think taught you most about yourself, not about your business, but really letting you know who you are at the core?
I would say there's so much over that business journey. I would say that it's probably that level of endurance and having self-belief. I think everyone goes through imposter syndrome, but you really have to have belief in your ability. And sometimes you can feel like, you can beat yourself up for whatever reason, but when you wake up every day and you show up and you keep going and you change tactics and you see a result, I think that gives you more and more reason to believe in yourself and to back yourself and just go with it. So, yeah, I'd say that, all of the struggle, sacrifice, everything that I'd been through, I would not say that I would change a thing about it because that has shaped my belief in my ability and what I can do and can continue to do.
I love that. Yeah. So before I letting you go, to wrap up this conversation, I wanted to let you to give other founders one piece of advice. So what if they wanted to considering selling their company? So what's the one piece of advice you wanted to give?
I would definitely say start early in that process, because when you get to a point where it's a sale or due diligence, you can't just turn it on at that moment. You have to have had a team behind you, processes, procedures, operations in place. Financials is a huge one. So I think, biggest piece of advice is start very early. With all of that.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for today's conversation. I really enjoy it, and thank you for all the real journey and leading you growth and being such an amazing woman. And thank you, Kristy.
Thank you. Likewise. I love what you've built, and it's been a real pleasure talking to you today.
Oh, thank you. If you find it's useful, if you find you need to rethink about your own routines, please share it with a friend as a morning boost, and subscribe, leave a review. That could help us a lot, and we will see you in the next one.